Why was the move to Spain so important? I predicted some changes were going to happen in Europe some time ago. My wife will often tell you that I've mentioned things before they've actually happened. The expectation of an attack in Brussels may not have been a location identified, but the expectation that something was about to happen was already paramount. In fact, most intelligence agencies would have already known. But we're not talking about that today. We're talking about why we wanted to go to Spain, why we moved to Spain, and the realities. Why didn't we continue with the call center? The call center in the Philippines is labor intensive. With that, you also need micromanagement. Micromanagement keeps things running smoothly. When they go wrong, it's very, very expensive. This is why I've repeatedly said on relationships with call centers that we were one of the few that survived the first 6 months. The reality is because I micromanage it. I go through the calls. I check that everything's running properly. I check the servers. You make sure that the whole thing's ticking over like a well-oiled machine. Most of the call centers I came across didn't. How do I know? Because most of their IT guys, you can buy them. They'll quite happily give you all the data off their servers. Most of them don't know how to deal with congestion on phone lines or making sure it's ticking over at the right rate in relationship to the calls coming through. Why is that important? Because when it doesn't run right, your costs could be 3 times more than we actually were our running costs. There's lots of reasons why you need to micromanage. You get people blatantly force-feeding a sale. 724 Care, for example, was doing pharmacy before relating to Viagra with generic branding, and somebody actually told them, a customer on the phone, it was Viagra. The problem you get with that is Viagra is actually copyright of Viagra, or whatever the name of the company is. The following day, or that day, that call center was raided because obviously it was selling a product as something it wasn't. It's a bit like buying Aldi trainers and selling them as Adidas. It just ain't going to wash, and they do take it very serious. There is stuff relating to other raids in the Philippines with things like sports shoes and other items where people are actually using call centers, etc., for short-term illegal activities. Why do they raid them? Because the US is heavily involved in shutting these places down. Anyway, you've got to micromanage a call center. You will find if you don't, as I found with another call center, they had managers actually running other campaigns utilizing the call center staff, because a lot of the calls were being multi-desked. You got one person using 2 dialers. As such, it appears that you've got 2 people sat there and you've only got one. The other people are being pulled onto a private contract the manager is using for himself. This meant that basically he was getting paid for nothing. The staff he'd got from within the call center, the dialing costs were absorbed by the call center, and the manager was making money for nothing. That's why micromanagement is important. Did I leave at the wrong time? The answer is no. The shift in Europe politics with the EU and also the immigration is exactly the sort of things I was expecting to be coming into play. As the recession bites, people are still looking at blaming somebody, and politicians are very good at deflection, and the easiest one will always be the immigrants. In the same way, if you are interested in why Syrians and others want to come to Europe, I'd have a look at the British arms trade documents, and you'll see that we've even supplied some of the chemicals that were used for chemical attacks in Syria. There's a lot of reasons that we, as the West, are responsible for a lot of the stuff that goes on in the Middle East. Also, the cost of the arms trade. But anyway, back to Spain. We moved to Spain primarily because we want to travel. Now, some people assume I'm going to be traveling next week. That is impossible. The Philippines passports do not give us enough flexibility of travel. We need the Spanish passports, which will take 2 years. I've got to go through the immigration process myself, which I'm already doing. Once that's done, I can put April and the kids through the immigration process. And once that's done, we can then go through the citizenship process. Why can't you jump the queue? Well, the first thing is, like the UK, you still have to do citizenship tests. To do that, April will need to speak Spanish. Although her Spanish is pretty good, it's still not to a level that would get her through her exams, because they do want you to understand history, local knowledge, etc., etc. As such, you've got to study it. You've got to watch the news relating to politics and regional information. It doesn't happen overnight. Are we financially stable? We are financially stable at €700 a month. Some people may think, well, that's not a lot of money. We don't need any more money. That's enough to live on. We have medical cover at that. We have all our bills paid at that. We have all our food on our table. What I need is to get to 1,400 for the immigration purposes, which is the bit I'm working on at the moment. Because for family 4, you need around €1,400 showing a month to make it at least seem that you have a stable income above the 1,400 threshold. It's not a big amount. And one of the things I will say is the €700 we make a month, which is normally between 700 and 1,000, is sustainable. It's a regular income. It's fully automatic. I do not actually have to work for it. Projects like selling software to FM companies takes months. The wholesale business being set up here in Spain has already taken months, and the guy I'm involved with that is away for another month, and for him it's not a major project. He's already a multimillionaire. He's got at least 77 houses in the UK that he rents out on top of the money he's already banked over the years. So he's not in a rush. This is more of a hobby for him. But at the same time, once it's set up, I can see him wanting to take a back seat purely because he's supposed to. He's supposed to be retired already. The only reason he's still doing these projects is he gets bored. At the same time, his partner is not happy that he's doing it. So that's some of the stuff going on with Spain. Could I have left it later? I ask why. What would be the point? What would happen if I died out in the Philippines or was in a plane crash or something else? My wife and kids would be left with a call center, which only myself really knows how to run. You cannot get other people in to run it because that's where most people fail. You need to be able to understand the business inside out to make it happen. You need to understand how to get things moving in the right direction. It all takes time, but also it takes people to understand the actual business itself, and very few people seem to do it. Many of the call centers in the Philippines are working with big companies, but they're already on a partner basis. They're not simply picking contracts out the air. You need to be well established and have the right setup to get the corporate stuff. To get the corporate stuff, you need a big investment. To get the big investment, you need to already be functioning at a level that they want. They want you to have your own little building. They want you to be pushing the quality of service well above the competition, but also want it for less than the price of a loaf of bread. So you've got to spend time getting it running. The other side of this being, for other contracts, because the solar industry tanked within no time at all, that Spain is an ideal location. Why? Because Spain has a lot of contracts available. There is people here already working on other projects. They're working on the Sky TV box insurance, PPI. They're working on holiday insurance, timeshares, lots of telemarketing stuff that generally I'm trying to avoid. But when push comes to shove, I'm still interested if it makes money. All of this is about networking. You cannot do it from the Philippines. This week, I'm planning on contacting some of the call centers and actually trying to make some inroads, make some new friends. All takes time. Why don't I worry about the income in Spain and making it locally? The answer to that is I do not want a local income. It'd be nice to make one short term while I set other stuff up, but at the end of the day, we're looking for flexibility. If the warehouse develops with the wholesale stuff, there's an opportunity there where managing the warehouse also gives an office space, an opportunity to run a warehouse and deal with the distribution, but I do not expect it to be a full-time opportunity. But having an office space with internet, etc., allows me to work from my location for other projects as well. All of this ties together to why we're in Spain. From the family side, once all the paperwork's done and dusted, there's opportunity here. The education's good here. The opportunities for April are good here. The ability to actually earn a bigger income throughout Europe. If we decide in a couple of years to go to Germany or even go to the UK, we could do it. But it all starts with making the transition of life in Spain. We can't do it any sooner or later. The timing is actually ideal for this. I can't say it any other way. Because at the end of the day, everything relies on me at the moment. But EU passports secure another path in case something ever happened to me. Which doesn't matter how you cut it. Unless I had a huge life insurance policy that was guaranteed to pay out, there's nothing else that would cover that more than a EU passport. What's your thoughts?